Hello and welcome to the 2020 high school football season. I'm Marissa McNeese with the Chronicle Telegram, and this is The Blitz, your weekly high school football show brought to you by First Federal Savings of Lorain. I'm here at Ely Stadium, joined by my partner in crime, Kristen Bauer, behind the camera, and we're here to talk a little high school football. Yes, we made it. We are going to play high school football this season, at least for 1 week. The coronavirus pandemic has changed everything, and high school sports are not exempt. But miraculously, we made it. We have a plan in place for the 2020 high school football season. It's going to look completely different than anything we've ever seen before, but the goal has been met. We are playing, and here's what it's going to look like. I'm going to break it down for you. It's a lot, so hang in there. We are looking at a 6-week regular season this year. Teams were able to adjust their schedules accordingly, drop non-conference games to add conference games just to get all the games they wanted. And that did happen with a lot of our county teams. Playoffs are starting October 9th with state championships, hopefully, if we make it that far, concluding by November 21st. Now, the goal of the 6-week season was to be done with high school football right around when flu season normally kicks in. You know, the OHSAA administrators felt this was the best course to make sure we still can play safely and get everybody off the field by the time we need to hunker down again during flu season. So that's what we're looking at. Of course, as we've found during this pandemic, things change day to day. But right now, week 1, this is what we have. Now, another difference, every team is able to make the playoffs. Teams are able to opt out, but come October 9th, if you so choose, you can participate in the postseason. And instead of our computer rankings, which I gotta be honest, still confuse me. I've been in Ohio covering high school football for a few years now, and I still need to get my colleague Sean Bennett to explain these computer rankings to me. So this year, it's like most other high school sports. Teams will be seeded accordingly. Regions will be redrawn to adjust for how many teams are opting into the postseason, and coaches will vote. It's like basketball, baseball, softball. Similar setup to that. If your team opts out of the postseason, you may continue to play some regular season games through October, or you don't have to. It's all up to the schools, the teams, the administrators, whatever works best for that team and that school. Now, another big difference, I know we all love the atmosphere of a high school football game, but unfortunately, that just can't happen this year. Spectators, they're going to be few and far between, and the OHSAA has determined that a 15% capacity at all stadiums is the safest way. That's worked out to about 2 spectators per player. Of course, that changes depending on size of the stadium, the team, etc. But that seems to be the norm right now. The band is not included in that count, as well as game workers. So they will still be in attendance, as well as a few people scattered throughout the stands. Fortunately, you have us here at the Blitz, at the Chronicle Telegram, at WEOL to bring you all the action. So while you may be disappointed that you can't be in the stadium to watch your favorite team this year, we will have you covered for everything you're going to need to follow along for as long as the season goes. We might only have a couple weeks. We might play till November, but we'll have you covered every step of the way. Now, as teams were able to opt in and out of the postseason, they were also able to opt out of the regular season if they decided to. Now, according to the OHSAA, we have about 60 schools across Ohio, as of today, August 25th, that have decided to not participate in the high school football season. And that does include one of our Lorain County schools. It was announced a couple weeks ago that Lorain had canceled all fall contact sports, which does include high school football. It was an extremely tough decision for athletic director Brian Corey and all the administrators over there. But at the end of the day, they decided the best interest of their athletes was to cancel the season. And that does include not just high school football, but volleyball, soccer, all sports deemed a contact sport by the OHSAA. Now that we got through all the housekeeping, let's do what we came here to do. Let's talk some football. Week 1, despite the pandemic and all of the changes we've seen this season, we have quite a few big games coming up this week. First off, we got to talk about the city rivalry, going to be played right here on Friday at Ely Stadium. That is Elyria and Elyria Catholic. Now, originally, Elyria had Midview on the schedule week 1, but because of all the changes, because of teams opting in and out to schedule more conference games, Midview decided to drop Elyria and play an SWC game, which opened up the city rivalry once again. Now, Elyria holds a 3-1 advantage over Elyria Catholic. The Panthers won the first matchup, but it's been the Pioneers ever since, and I know they are excited to get back out here to show how they've adapted to the system under second-year coach Devlin Culliver. The team is feeling more experienced. They have some really talented athletes, a really athletic, talented quarterback. But the same goes for Elyria Catholic. This is going to be a better game, I think, than maybe on paper. Elyria hasn't had a ton of success in the past few seasons in terms of wins, but they've put up some good numbers. That they've got the talent. Now it's just about putting it together on the field. Elyria Catholic, on the other hand, they've had playoff season recently. They've had all Ohioans. They've had the athletes. They've had the talent. There's a few more question marks for the Panthers this season. They've lost some good defensive players, but they also return an incredibly talented quarterback in Steven Navalinsky. He's got a big arm, and that is going to be a really fun duel to watch this Friday. The other big rivalry game this week, the one we've all come to anticipate here in week 1, is Avon Lake, two teams that battle every year, sometimes twice a year, regular season and the playoffs. Last year was no different. Avon won both games last year in week 1, a really, really close game, and then again in the regional championship. But Avon Lake returns a lot of talent. They had one of the best defenses around, not just in Lorain County, but in Northeast Ohio. They had 6 shutouts. They allowed just over 7 points a game. This is a team that is, I know Coach Matt Kostelnik feels this team is the most experienced team he's had since he came back to Avon Lake, and they are ready to take one from Avon this season. Meanwhile, Avon, they always find a way to win, no matter what. Last year, it seemed like they couldn't catch a break, and for a team like Avon, sometimes you might think they get enough breaks, but that's a team that they had injury after injury to starters, to some All-Ohio players, and still found ways to win. This is going to be not your typical week 1 Avon Lake rivalry matchup. The stands will be mostly empty. It won't have that playoff vibe like it normally does, but make no mistake, it's going to be just as good of a game as any year. And if we make it to the postseason, I know we all have our fingers crossed. Depending on how the regions are redrawn, I think we might be able to count on seeing those teams meet up again come October. Now, as I mentioned before, stadiums are only going to be at 15% capacity, so most of us won't get to see a high school football game in person this season. But don't worry, we've got you covered here at the Chronicle Telegram and at WEOL, which will be streaming 3 really great games this week, 2 of which I already mentioned. On the radio and on Stream 1, we will have Avon Lake. I know there are going to be a ton of people tuning in to hear how that one plays out. On Stream 2, WEOL.com, we have Elyria Catholic, the city rivalry. And for our Medina County matchup this week, another great game between 2 playoff teams, Menor and Medina. That will be on Stream 3 at WEOL.com. For all of us here at The Blitz, my partner, Kristen Bauer, I'm Marissa McNeese with the Chronicle Telegram. We'll see you next week.